All right, guys, I'll do a quick start off here. It's interesting, for any of our listeners to 3 Point Podcast, especially for Tedertainment Tonight, but for any topic, send us a little note at 3 Point Pod, and we'll definitely consider it and see what we can do. I got a note from one of our followers, one of our big followers, Sam Vowell, and he suggested a show that I should check out. So yesterday, my wife and I said, "Hey, we got a little time. Let's check this out." And it's a documentary. You know how I like my music documentaries.
Yeah, that's what we do.
There's one about Sly and the Family Stone. It's called Sly Lives, and it's put together by Questlove. And I don't know if you guys even know who Sly and the Family Stone is. It's a group from the 60s. The leader of the group, his name's Sly Stone. His real name is Sylvester Stewart. But he was a DJ in San Francisco in the early 60s. He put together a band of, a mixture of blacks, whites, males, females, and they were just an incredible band. I highly recommend. To give you a little musical history of this group, they were the trendsetter to Prince. Prince really thought these guys were the king. And if you tune into this documentary, hear some of the songs they put together, some of the history behind it, I think you'd really enjoy it. It's on Hulu, and it's called Sly Lives. So I give that one a complete 3 thumbs up, especially for me being a music geek from that time, you know. When I was a little kid, and your parents will remember these days too, when I first started listening to music on the radio, it was AM radio, right?
Oh, right.
It was in the early to mid 60s. You had the British invasion with the Beatles, the Stones, the Kinks, the Four Seasons were big then, and it went from the early to mid 60s through Woodstock. Sly and the Family Stone played at Woodstock and tore the house down. So check out the documentary if you're interested on a little musical history that you may not know about. I knew this group. I listened to a lot of their music back in the day, but there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I didn't have any clue on. So it was a good tip by Sam.
Yeah, I've definitely seen their albums, or I've probably seen some of their music, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm sure if I heard some songs, it'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I know that. Was there a tie-in why Questlove put it together?
Yeah, what was
he just a fan?
Questlove?
I think he's been doing some of these documentaries on the Black movement, from back in the day. And in fact, in parentheses on the title, it's AKA The Burden of Black Genius. And the story, I don't want to, if you don't know anything about Sly Stone, it tells about how he started, and it tells about some bad things that happened later in the career. So, I won't get into that because they talk about it in the documentary, but it's really well done. And if you're looking for, an hour and a half, I can't remember how long it was, but it's well worth the watch. Little musical history for you.
Can always count on you for the musical history documentaries, which are good. I mean, because that stuff's interesting. Because you hear the music, but it's cool to hear the behind the scenes.
And I have one other thing that we checked out yesterday. I don't know about you guys. Do you try to watch the Academy Award movies before the award show if you can, if it's streaming? No. Like if there's a nominee streaming, I'll watch it. I won't necessarily go to the movie theater. But we watched one last night called A Real Pain. And it's kind of an underrated movie. Jesse Eisenberg, he was in the Facebook movie.
Right.
He wrote this movie and he put it together. It's a movie it's kind of a buddy movie. Him and Kieran Culkin, who was nominated for Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in this movie. He was lights out, fantastic. It's about 2 cousins. They were born within 3 months apart. They're both they're both Jewish, and they have Polish backgrounds. They went together on a trip to Poland to kind of go see their grandmother's house, and they were part of a tour group. I got to give this movie. It's my kind of movie. There's a lot of dialogue. It's some comedy, some drama, very well acted, and the screenplay by Eisenberg is nominated for an Oscar too. And that one is available. It's online. I can't remember. I think I watched it on Prime.
Is it funny, or what is is it a drama? What is it?
It's both, it has some comical moments. It has some dramatic moments, because it's this tour group that goes to Poland, and they end up going to a concentration camp, and they're all Polish, and they're all Polish Jews. So there was a tie into that. I mean, it was just really well done, I thought.
Yeah.
So that's my tip of the day.
I like both
of
those
them.
actors. So
Right.
so where'd you watch it?
It was on Prime.
Okay.
You can watch it for free right now, and if you get a chance, check it out. It's really good.
As you said, Eisenberg wrote it. Is he
Yeah.
in the movie also?
Yeah, he's one of the buddies
Oh,
with
okay.
Culkin. Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
mainly those two guys are the focus. And it was funny. I watched the whole movie, and there was this lady that looked familiar to me, but I didn't know who it was until I looked it up. Jennifer Grey from Dirty Dancing, and from way back in the day, she played this elderly woman that was divorced from her husband. It was part of the trip. It was really well done, and again, it's one of those kind of had an indie feel to it, but it was really, really well done.
Cool.
How about you guys?
Is it up for Best Picture too? You listed
not up for Best Picture. It's up
okay.
for Best Original Screenplay,
Gotcha.
and Culkin's nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I guess if there's one that really piques my interest, like that one, that kind of does, especially it just being right on Prime. I might try to watch some of the nominees, but I know some people, they make a point to watch like all the Best Picture nominees and stuff like that. I'm not on that level, but yeah, that's a good recommendation. I have a couple. So we've talked a ton about Yellowstone. The whole series of Yellowstone, 1923, came back this past weekend. So Ted, I don't know if you watched the first episode, but we did watch the first episode, and honestly, so there was 1883, 1923, and then obviously Yellowstone, the original or whatever. I think this 1923 storyline might be my favorite of the series because Harrison Ford and his wife, it's a really cool relationship they have and storyline. But the son, Spencer is his name.
Yes,
that's coming back. He's a lion hunter over in like Africa or something like that, and they're wanting him to come back and basically save the ranch. So obviously we know the ranch does get saved because it stays in the family, but to see how that happens, I'm very curious. And just seeing the time, the time of that it is in 1923 or whatever, with the cars and them talking about like the telephone and other stuff like that. It's just really interesting. So yeah, I'm curious to see how the rest of this season plays out.
Those shows, man. I mean, I watched Landman. It's amazing how he turns those out. Taylor Sheridan.
Yeah, it is.
Honestly, I haven't watched the 1883 or the 1923. I probably would enjoy them. I don't know. Just for whatever reason, I haven't gotten into them. Are those airing right now? Like, is there a new season of that airing right now?
Yeah, 1923 just started again. So the first episode was Sunday. And then they drop an episode every Sunday. So they just
had those Taylor Sheridan. It's like once one season ends, now we'll do Yellowstone. Then after that, now it's Landman. It's he's a one-man network.
Basically,
at Paramount.
Yeah, he's an industry in himself for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know if I was going to say, I don't know if 1883 they're going to do anything else with that. I think
I saw that one's done.
Yeah,
I think that one's done, and then it moved right on to 1923.
Right.
So, obviously, because Yellowstone, the story, I'm just curious to see how it plays out. Because my wife and I were like, okay, so Kevin Costner, John Dutton, he was the guy in Yellowstone. So like we were trying to be like, all right, so who's his dad in this story? Because like Harrison Ford, I don't think is his dad. So we're kind of like, all right, so where does the family like come in and then eventually get to John Dutton? So that'll be
like how it ends. Like name him the baby. They'll have a baby birth. Name him John, and then that's how the season ends.
Boom, and there you go. Yeah, it probably will be. But yeah, so that's good. I mean, I don't know. I like that series. I know it's not for everyone, but I like it.
That's good.
You guys know I love anything Dream Team, anything U.S. basketball. And we talked about it. You were watching Court of Gold on Netflix. That's about the 2024 team in Paris. I did watch the first 2 episodes of that. I think it's 6 episodes. The access that, I mean, they said this is the first time they had this kind of access. And I actually know a former coworker in Bristol. She was on the production team of this. I was thinking I might hit her up. I haven't talked to her in 5-6 years or whatever. I was thinking of maybe hitting her up and being like, hey, you want to come on the podcast and talk about your role on Court of Gold? That could be an interesting conversation. But yeah, the first 2 episodes, I mean, seeing the behind the scenes stuff is just so cool to me. Seeing the guys, at practice and they do a good job with this one. Yes, it's about U.S. basketball, but you see the other countries. They obviously talk about France with Wemby. They talk about Serbia with Jokic. They talk about a couple other countries, and you get some interviews and you see I don't want to say hatred, but you see the rivalry of other countries really, really, really want to beat the U.S. I mean,
Well,
Canada, they obviously highlight Canada a lot. So I can't wait to watch the rest of this series.
Yeah. I mean, one of the funniest, you almost like are rooting for these other countries because, like, for example, like they have the opening ceremonies. I don't play. It almost was silly that France didn't go,
Right.
but U.S. goes to the opening ceremonies, and they're, it's funny. You're looking at France; they're like working out, watching the opening ceremonies on TV. They refused to go because they had a game the next day. They wanted to get ready for it. Like they want to be. You are heroes for life if you beat the U.S. and win a gold medal. Like I get the motivation there. So it's funny to see the different dynamics where U.S. is pretty much slapped together. Let's get ready for this in 3 weeks, whereas these other teams are preparing basically year round for 4 years leading up to the Olympics. So it's fun to see the different sides of the Olympics that we don't see. So
I mean, that is the dynamic. Yeah, that's definitely the dynamic nowadays. I mean, yes, overall the U.S. is still the standard in basketball, but other teams, they have talent. I mean, the last 6 or so MVPs in the NBA have been from players from overseas. So obviously there are elite players from other countries, but they play together. They have that cohesion. They play together their whole lives. And like you said, the U.S. team a lot of times is kind of slapped together. They get a few weeks to practice, and then you're off to the Olympics. So so I'm curious to watch the rest of that one. I did watch the other one that's on Max. We Beat the Dream Team. It's about the select team, the college players that, the legend, but it's actually true that the first scrimmage, they beat the Dream Team. A collection of 8 college players went in there and beat, the best team ever assembled, the 92 Dream Team. And that thing, I almost want to watch it again. It's just a one time, hour and a half.
Was that good?
Oh man, I would give it 4 thumbs up out of 3. I mean,
do we get footage of the scrimmage in it?
They have footage. So that's the best part. So
awesome.
Chuck Daly, I mean, this dude, again, here we go talking about Chuck Daly again, but it's cool.
Yeah,
it's cool to hear the stories about him because obviously, Ted, you remember him. I was a kid when he was coaching the Bad Boys. So, I don't know the stories, but you, Ted, remember Chuck Daly as a coach for
100%.
And hearing this, he's obviously passed away, but Coach K, Roy Williams, Lenny Wilkins, Greg Popovich, PJ Carlissimo, all these like legendary coaches, they were on that staff and with Chuck Daly. So they tell stories about Chuck Daly, and they talked about just how he like formed the team, how cool he was with his pop collar, and how he was like the perfect coach for that team of absolute legends: Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley. Then you got Chuck Daly. He was the perfect coach for that team, and how he orchestrated this thing. And he only wanted one camera in that gym for that scrimmage. So we see the scrimmage, and it's so cool to see because it's Chris Webber, Anthony Hardaway, Bobby Hurley, Allen Houston, Rodney Rogers, Eric Montross. I mean, it's a legit squad, and it's interesting to hear. So the background of it is, before that, the USA basketball for the Olympics used to be college players. It was amateurs. And then they lost to the Soviet Union in 1988, and that made them say, we can't have this.
Right.
We need professional players. So 92 Dream Team is a thing. The college players, Anthony Hardaway, Webber, these guys, they talk about how they were almost like a little offended because that would have been them in the Olympics. They would have been the college team in the Olympics. So they lost their chance, to play in the Olympics. That scrimmage, that game, that was their Olympics. And it's also interesting to hear because, it takes you back to the time before social media, camera phones, YouTube, Instagram, all that, because Weber and some other guys talked about, yes, they knew Michael Jordan or, they knew of these guys. They know Larry Bird, but they had never really like seen these guys in person. And they talked about how like they were practicing at a different facility. Roy Williams, the legendary college coach, was the coach for the select team. He had them practicing. They walked into the facility. I'm almost like ruining this story, but whatever. It's not like
that's fine.
You'll still get it when you watch it. But they walk into the facility and the court is down below, and they walk in and they're like above, and they walk in and it's basically like they're like kids walking into like a toy store back in the day when they walk in and they look down and they see this Dream Team practicing, and they're like, they've never seen these guys in person, and they're like larger than life, because Weber even says something like, you got to remember, there's not Instagram. We don't really know what these guys do back in the day. There's not YouTube. Right. There's not all these podcasts and stuff like that. All we really know is just that these guys are the best in the world. They're Hall of Famers. And then we walk into a gym and there they are practicing, and we're like, we're about to go scrimmage them. Like that
Right.
kind of stuff is just, nowadays, I mean, all the players, the college players now, they know everyone in the NBA. They're all friends. They know each other. They play basketball together all the time or whatever, So just all that stuff, the behind the scenes. Grant Hill is in it because he was on the team too.
Were tempers flaring in the scrimmage or not so much?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to ruin too much, but yes, Magic Johnson's in it, and he definitely talks about, they didn't take it seriously at first, but the select team was talking junk. I mean, just talking smack to him. Larry Bird's in it. He talks about it. The stories and stuff is just, I can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah,
even
I'll
if you're
definitely
a
watch it,
casual
too.
basketball fan. I mean, it's cool.
Sight unseen, it's like I think about why the select team played hard and had confidence. Like it's like a guy like Bobby Hurley. It's like that he was going into that game wanting to bust some people's asses. So that
I mean, he even said
his role was.
Yeah, it's interesting to see because the footage is amazing. I mean, Larry Bird and some other guys even said like, if these are the players coming in the NBA now, I need to retire.
That's what's funny about the Dream Team is, yeah, they were good, but a lot of those guys, man, were kind of over the hill. Like Bird could barely move. His back was, he threw out his back, couldn't move. So it's like a team like that, probably just, they could get shocked. Like it wasn't necessarily the best players in the NBA. It was the biggest stars.
Yes.
Yeah. Except for like Michael Jordan and Barkley. They were the clear, those dudes were different.
Prime.
But
in their prime. Yeah.
So like I said, 4 thumbs out of 3. I would highly recommend that. It's on Max.
Love it. Jared, do you have anything to add before we wrap?
I mean, I had some, but honestly, I think you guys covered it well, and I'll just save mine for next week. So, little
Sounds
teaser,
good.
White Lotus. If you haven't been watching this show, I've talked about it before. It's the perfect TV show in my opinion. So, if you haven't checked it out, give it a watch. Season 3 is airing right now.
Definitely. That's a good tip. I watched the first 2. They were awesome. Is it one of those where it's once a week or can you stream it?
Once a week. And it's a bummer because the show is like, each episode gets ratcheted up a little bit more. You just want to binge it. And it's almost made for a binge watch. So it's kind of tough to watch it week to week, but that's what we'll do.